What I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you think you know about love, loyalty, and the sweet taste of public revenge. My name is Ashley, and 48 hours ago, I thought I was planning the perfect birthday party for the man I loved. Today, that same man is hiding in his apartment, too humiliated to show his face in public, while his first love has blocked him on every social media platform. How did this happen? Let me take you back to the beginning of the most satisfying 20 minutes of my entire life. But first, I need to warn you. If you're the type of person who cheats on their partner, you might want to stop watching now. Because after you hear this story, you'll never feel safe at another party again. The betrayal started 3 weeks ago. The revenge lasted exactly 20 minutes. And the consequences? They're still destroying lives as we speak. My name is Ashley Martinez. I'm 29 years old, and until 3 days ago, I thought I was about to become Ashley Chun. I've been dating David Chun for 2 years. Perfect relationship, or so I thought. David was a successful architect, charming, ambitious, everything I wanted in a partner. We lived together in his beautiful downtown loft, talked about marriage, planned our future. But here's what I didn't know: David had a secret that was about to destroy everything. For the past month, I'd been planning David's 30th birthday party. I wanted it to be perfect. I booked the rooftop venue at the Meridian Hotel, invited 80 of his friends, family, and colleagues, ordered his favorite catering, even hired a photographer to capture every moment. I thought I was planning a celebration. I had no idea I was planning my own public humiliation. The guest list included everyone important to David: his parents, his business partners, his college friends, his coworkers. And yes, it included his ex-girlfriend Emma, his first love from college. Now, before you judge me for inviting his ex, let me explain. David insisted. Ashley, Emma and I are just friends now, he said when I questioned it. We've been friends for years. It would be weird not to invite her. But she's your ex-girlfriend. She's ancient history. Baby, you're the woman I love. Emma is just Emma. She's like a sister to me now. I believed him. I trusted him. I even went out of my way to make Emma feel welcome. What I didn't know was that for the past 6 weeks, David had been texting Emma every single day. What I didn't know was that they'd been meeting for coffee twice a week. What I didn't know was that Emma had been telling David she wanted him back. And what I especially didn't know was that David had been planning something special for his birthday party. Something that had nothing to do with celebrating another year of life, and everything to do with getting back the love of his life. I should have seen the signs. David had been distant lately, distracted. He was spending more time on his phone, taking calls in private, working late more often. But I was too busy planning his perfect party to notice that I was planning my own heartbreak. The morning of the party, David seemed nervous. Excited but nervous. Everything okay? I asked as I got ready. Everything's perfect, he said, kissing my forehead. Tonight's going to be a night we'll never forget. He was right about that. Just not in the way he expected. The party was beautiful. The rooftop venue overlooked the entire city. The weather was perfect, and everyone was having a great time. I felt proud watching David surrounded by everyone who loved him. I felt like the perfect girlfriend who had planned the perfect party for the perfect man. I was such a fool. Emma arrived around 7 p.m., looking stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. She hugged David a little too long when she arrived, but I pushed down my jealousy. This was his night. Ashley, this party is incredible, she said to me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. David is so lucky to have someone who cares about him this much. Thank you, I replied, trying to be gracious. I wanted everything to be perfect for him. Oh, it will be, Emma said, and something in her tone made my skin crawl. Tonight is definitely going to be perfect. At the time, I thought she was just being friendly. Now I realize she was gloating. As the evening progressed, I noticed David and Emma gravitating toward each other. They talked by the bar for 20 minutes. They laughed together on the balcony. They hugged goodbye twice when she pretended to leave early but then stayed. Every time I tried to join their conversations, they would get quiet or change the subject. What were you two talking about? I asked David when Emma went to the bathroom. Just catching up, he said, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. Catching up about what? College stuff. Old friends. Nothing important. but something in his voice told me it was very important. At 9 p.m., David asked everyone to gather around for a toast. I thought he was going to thank everyone for coming, maybe say something sweet about me planning the party. I was wrong. So very, very wrong. Everyone, thank you for being here tonight, David began, holding up his champagne glass. This has been an incredible evening, but there's something I need to say. Something I need to do. The crowd grew quiet. I felt a flutter of excitement, thinking maybe this was it. Maybe he was going to propose. We'd talked about it, and what better place than surrounded by everyone we loved? That's when David turned to Emma. Emma, he said, his voice shaking with emotion. I've been thinking about this for weeks. Being around you again, talking to you, remembering what we had. I realized something. My blood started to turn cold. I realized that I made the biggest mistake of my life when I let you go. I've been trying to move on, trying to convince myself that what we had was just young love, but it wasn't. It was real love. It was the real thing. The crowd was dead silent. I felt like I was watching a movie, like this couldn't possibly be happening to me. David reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. A ring box. A ring box that I had never seen before in my life. Emma Morrison, David said, dropping to one knee in front of his ex-girlfriend while I stood 3 feet away. Will you marry me? The sound that came out of my mouth wasn't human. It was the sound of a heart breaking in real time. Emma gasped, covered her mouth with her hands and started crying. David, yes. Yes, of course. I've been waiting for this moment for years. While 80 people watched, David Chun proposed to his ex-girlfriend at the birthday party I had planned and paid for. While I stood there in the dress I'd bought specifically for his birthday party, watching the man I loved slip an engagement ring onto another woman's finger. The crowd didn't know what to do. Some people started clapping uncertainly. Others just stared. David's mother looked like she was going to faint. And me? I just stood there frozen, as my entire world collapsed in front of everyone I knew. That's when Emma turned to the crowd and said, I'm sorry if this is awkward for some of you, but David and I realized we belong together. We've been talking for weeks about this moment. Weeks. They'd been planning this for weeks. While I was planning David's birthday party, he was planning to humiliate me at it. David stood up and kissed Emma passionately while everyone watched. When they separated, he turned to the crowd with the biggest smile I'd ever seen on his face. Sorry for the surprise, everyone, but when you know, you know. That's when he finally looked at me. The look on his face wasn't apologetic. It wasn't guilty. It was triumphant. Like he'd just won something. Like humiliating me in front of everyone was the prize he'd been working toward. And that's when something inside me snapped. Not broke. Snapped. Like a rubber band that had been stretched too far, and was about to snap back with devastating force. Now, here's where most people would expect me to start crying or run away or cause a scene. That's not what I did. Instead, I smiled. I walked over to David and Emma, and I smiled bigger than I had all evening. Oh my God, congratulations, I said, hugging them both. This is so exciting. David looked confused. Ashley, I'm sorry this happened like this. I didn't know how to tell you. Tell me what? That you two are perfect for each other? David, I'm so happy for you. The crowd was staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Or maybe I just found it. This is incredible, I continued, still beaming. You know what? This calls for a celebration. Everyone, fill up your glasses. We need to toast the happy couple. Emma looked suspicious. Ashley, are you okay? I'm perfect. I'm so happy. You know what? I have an announcement to make too. David's face went pale. Ashley, what are you doing? I'm celebrating. This is a party. Your party. And now it's an engagement party too. I climbed onto one of the chairs so everyone could see me. Everyone. Everyone, can I have your attention, please? The crowd turned to look at me. 80 faces staring up at me with expressions ranging from confused to horrified to fascinated. I have something to share with all of you about our wonderful newly engaged couple. David stepped toward me. Ashley, get down. Please. No, everyone needs to hear this. Especially Emma. Emma, honey. There's something about your new fiancé that you absolutely need to know. Emma's face was starting to show the first signs of concern. What are you talking about? Well, I said, projecting my voice so everyone could hear. Since David has been so honest tonight about his feelings, I think it's time for complete honesty. I pulled out my phone. You see, 3 weeks ago, I discovered something interesting about David. Something I've been keeping to myself, but since we're all being so open and honest tonight. David's face went from pale to green. Ashley, stop. Stop? Why would I stop? Don't you want Emma to know what kind of man she's marrying? That's when I saw the fear in his eyes. Because David suddenly realized that I knew. I knew about Sarah. Sarah Whitman. The married woman who lived in the apartment below us. The woman David had been sleeping with for the past 4 months while telling me he loved me, and while planning to propose to Emma. The woman whose husband was currently standing in this crowd, having no idea his wife was having an affair. Ashley, David said, his voice barely above a whisper, please don't do this. Don't do what? Don't tell Emma about Sarah. Emma's head snapped up. Who's Sarah? And that's when I dropped the first bomb. Sarah is the married woman David's been sleeping with every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 4 months. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma stared at David. What is she talking about? David opened his mouth, but no words came out. So I helped him out. David, should I tell Emma about the texts? Or should I just show her the photos? What photos? Emma whispered. I held up my phone. The photos I took when I followed David 3 weeks ago, and watched him go into Sarah's apartment while her husband was at work. The crowd was dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Or maybe Emma would prefer to see the text messages. David, should I read the one where you told Sarah you were going to get rid of Ashley after your birthday party? Or the one where you said Emma was just a backup plan in case Sarah wouldn't leave her husband? Emma's face went white. David, tell me she's lying. David looked like he was going to vomit. Emma, I can explain. Explain what? I interrupted. Explain how you've been cheating on me with a married woman, while planning to propose to your ex-girlfriend? Explain how you told Sarah that Emma was just your way of getting back at me for being clingy? I started reading directly from my phone. Here's a good one from last Tuesday. Sarah baby, I can't wait to dump Ashley and get back with Emma just to see the look on Ashley's face. But honestly, you're the one I really want. Emma's just my way of twisting the knife. Emma dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the rooftop floor. And here's my personal favorite from Thursday. The best part about this plan is that Ashley is planning the whole party where I'm going to humiliate her. She's so pathetic she's actually helping me destroy her. The crowd was staring at David like he was a monster. But I wasn't done. Oh, but wait, there's more. Emma, you'll love this one. Emma's so desperate to get back with me she'll say yes to anything. She's been texting me every day begging for another chance. It's actually kind of sad. Emma started crying. David, how could you say that about me? And Sarah, I continued. Since your husband is here tonight. I pointed to a tall man in the back of the crowd who had gone completely pale. Michael, right? Sarah's husband? You might want to know that your wife has been texting David every day about leaving you. Want to see those messages too? Michael Whitman pushed through the crowd, his face a mask of rage. What the hell is going on here? He demanded. Well, Michael, your wife has been having an affair with David for 4 months. She's been telling him she's going to divorce you after she figures out the finances. Should I show you the photos of them kissing in your living room? Michael lunged toward David, but his friends held him back. You son of a bitch! Michael shouted. Sarah told me she was working late. David was backing away from the crowd, but there was nowhere to go. We were on a rooftop. Wait, Emma said, wiping her tears and looking at me with something between admiration and horror. How long have you known about this? 3 weeks, I said calmly. I hired a private investigator the day I got suspicious. Want to see the full report? I pulled out a manila envelope. David Chan, age 30, architect, currently engaged in sexual relationships with 3 women. His live-in girlfriend Ashley Martinez, his ex-girlfriend Emma Morrison, and his married neighbor Sarah Whitman. Subject has been lying to all 3 women about his intentions, and has been planning to use his birthday party to humiliate Martinez, while manipulating Morrison into accepting a proposal. The crowd was backing away from David like he had a contagious disease. The report also includes financial records showing that David used Ashley Martinez's credit card, to purchase the engagement ring he just gave to Emma Morrison. Emma looked down at the ring on her finger like it was made of poison. He bought my engagement ring with your money? Technically, he bought it with money he stole from my credit card. The same credit card he used to buy Sarah Whitman the necklace she's wearing right now. Everyone turned to look at Michael, who was staring at his wife's necklace with dawning horror. Sarah told me that necklace was from her sister, Michael said quietly. Nope, I said cheerfully. It was from her boyfriend. The same boyfriend who's been telling her that his live-in girlfriend is just a roommate, and his ex-girlfriend is just desperate. That's when Emma completely lost it. She yanked the engagement ring off her finger and threw it at David's face. You lying, cheating, manipulative piece of garbage. Then she turned to the crowd. Did everyone hear this? Did everyone hear what kind of man David Chan really is? The crowd murmured their agreement. Phones were out. People were recording. He's been playing all three of us. He made me think Ashley was the problem keeping us apart, when really he was cheating on both of us with a married woman. Michael stepped forward. Where's my wife? He demanded. Oh, Sarah couldn't make it tonight, I said innocently. She told David she was having dinner with her mother. But according to the GPS tracker I put on David's car, she's actually at the Marriott downtown. Room 412. David was planning to meet her there after the party. Michael stormed toward the exit. Michael, wait. I called after him. You might want to take the photographer with you. I paid for wedding photography. But this is turning out to be much more interesting than a wedding. By this point, David looked like he wanted to die. Ashley, he said desperately, can we please talk about this privately? Privately. I laughed. David, you just proposed to another woman at the party I planned for you. I think we're way past private conversations. Besides, I'm not done yet. The crowd was watching like this was the best entertainment they'd ever seen. Several people were live streaming on social media. See, David, the thing about humiliating someone in public is that it can go both ways. I pulled out another envelope. These are copies of David's company emails, which I was able to access because he gave me his passwords to help him stay organized. David's boss, who had been standing in the crowd looking horrified, stepped forward. Ashley, what are you doing? Hi, Mr. Peterson. I'm so glad you're here. You need to know that David has been using company resources to plan his affairs. He's been booking hotel rooms on the company credit card, using company cars for personal meetings, and even using company computers to send sexual messages to multiple women during work hours. Mr. Peterson's face darkened. David, is this true? Sir, I can explain. Can you explain this email from last Tuesday where you told Sarah you were going to charge your hotel room to the company account because they'll never notice? I handed Mr. Peterson a printed email. Or this one where you told Emma you could get her a job at your company even though she's not qualified because you have ways of making things happen? Mr. Peterson read the emails, his face getting redder by the second. David, you're fired. Security will escort you from the building tomorrow to collect your personal items. The crowd gasped. In 5 minutes, David had lost his girlfriend, his backup girlfriend, his affair partner, and his job. But I still wasn't done. Oh, and David? Remember how you said this apartment was our place and you wanted me to move out after tonight so Emma could move in? David nodded miserably. Well, here's the thing. You might want to check the lease agreement. I pulled out a legal document. You see, when you asked me to co-sign the lease because your credit wasn't good enough, what you didn't realize is that I negotiated with the landlord to put the lease entirely in my name. David's face went white. What does that mean? It means this apartment is mine. Legally, completely mine. You're not on the lease at all. The crowd was staring at me like I was some kind of genius. So, David, you have 24 hours to get your stuff out of my apartment. After that, I'm changing the locks and donating anything you leave behind to charity. Emma stepped forward. Ashley, how did you know all this was going to happen? I didn't know exactly what David was planning, but I knew something was wrong. So I spent 3 weeks preparing for every possibility. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of hiring investigators, gathering evidence, securing my assets, and making sure that if David tried to humiliate me, I'd be ready to destroy him completely. I looked around at the crowd of 80 people, all staring at David like he was the worst person they'd ever met. You see, David thought he was smart. He thought he could manipulate 3 women and humiliate me in front of everyone I cared about. I stepped closer to him. But here's what David didn't understand. When you underestimate a woman, when you think she's too naive or too trusting or too stupid to figure out what you're doing. I leaned in so only he could hear. That's when you learn the difference between a victim and a predator. I stepped back so everyone could hear again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to David's birthday party. I hope you've enjoyed the entertainment. The bar is still open, the food is still warm, and now that the trash has been taken out, we can actually have a good time. The crowd erupted in applause. David stood there alone, in the middle of the rooftop, with everyone staring at him with disgust and contempt. David, I said sweetly, don't you have somewhere to be? I believe Sarah is waiting for you at the Marriott. Although you might want to call first and make sure Michael hasn't gotten there already. David stumbled toward the exit, and I called after him one more time. Oh, and David? Happy birthday! As David slunk away like the coward he was, something amazing happened. The party actually got better. People started coming up to me, congratulating me, telling me I was their hero. David's own friends were saying they'd never liked him anyway. Emma approached me with tears in her eyes. Ashley, I am so sorry. I had no idea David was playing all of us. Emma, you don't owe me an apology. We were both victims of the same manipulator. But I should have known something was wrong when he contacted me out of nowhere claiming he wanted me back. How could you have known? He's a professional liar. We ended up talking for an hour. Emma was actually a lovely person who had been just as manipulated as I was. Ashley, she said, can I ask you something? Of course. How did you stay so calm? How did you plan all this without breaking down? I thought about it for a moment, because I realized that David was counting on me to be weak. He was counting on me to cry and run away and let him humiliate me. The moment I decided to be strong instead of a victim, I became dangerous to him. You're incredible. I wish I was that strong. Emma, you are that strong. You just threw his ring in his face and called him out in front of everyone. That's not weak behavior. We actually became friends that night. Trauma bonding maybe, but real friendship. The party continued until midnight. People stayed to support me, to tell me how awesome I was, to say they'd never seen anything like what I'd pulled off. David's boss pulled me aside. Ashley, I don't know if you're looking for a job, but someone with your strategic thinking and planning skills would be very valuable at our company. I got a job offer at the party where my boyfriend dumped me. The photographer I'd hired got some incredible shots of David's face during the revelation. I posted the best ones on social media with the caption, "When you plan the perfect birthday surprise." The post went viral. 50,000 shares in 24 hours. But the best part came the next day. I woke up in my apartment that David would never see again. To a series of text messages from people who'd been at the party. First message, Ashley, you might want to check the news. I turned on the local morning show, and there was the story. Local woman exposes cheating boyfriend's triple life at birthday party. They interviewed people who'd been at the party. Everyone called me a hero. Second message, check David's LinkedIn. I checked. David had posted a public apology trying to explain his behavior and asking for forgiveness from everyone he'd hurt. The post had 200 comments. Every single one was negative. Third message, Sarah Whitman is getting divorced. Apparently, Michael had indeed gone to the Marriott and found Sarah in room 412, dressed up and waiting for David. The confrontation was so loud that hotel security had to intervene. Fourth message, David's moving back in with his parents. With no job, no apartment, and his reputation destroyed, David had been forced to move back into his childhood bedroom at age 30. But my favorite message came from Emma. Ashley, I hope you know you saved my life. I was about to make the biggest mistake ever by marrying that monster. You're my guardian angel. A week later, I was featured in a magazine article about women who fought back against manipulative men. A month later, I got promoted at my new job. 6 months later, Emma and I started a podcast called How to Spot a David, where we help other women identify and escape manipulative relationships. And David? Last I heard, he was working at a coffee shop in another state, still living with his parents, still alone. Sarah Whitman took half his assets in the divorce and moved across the country with their kids. Emma became one of my best friends and is now dating a genuinely good man who treats her like a queen. And me? I learned something that night that changed my life forever. I learned that when someone tries to destroy you, you have two choices. You can let them succeed or you can show them what real destruction looks like. I chose destruction, and it was beautiful. 1 year later, I was planning another party. But this time it was my own engagement party. To a man who actually deserves me. A man who would never dream of humiliating me. A man who builds me up instead of tearing me down. James and I met at a coffee shop 3 months after David's birthday disaster. He'd seen the viral video of my revenge and said he'd never been more attracted to a woman in his life. I knew I had to meet the woman who could plan and execute the perfect takedown while wearing heels and looking flawless. He told me on our first date. The proposal was everything David's fake proposal wasn't. Private, romantic, genuine, and planned specifically with my dreams in mind. When James got down on one knee, he said, "Ashley, you're the strongest woman I've ever met. Will you marry me?" No cameras, no crowd, no public humiliation. Just two people who actually love each other. But here's the really beautiful part. David found out about my engagement through social media. He actually had the audacity to send me a message. "Ashley, I heard you're getting married. I wanted to congratulate you and say I'm sorry for how things ended between us." I showed the message to James. "Want me to handle this?" he asked. "No," I said. "I've got it." I sent David one final message. "David, thank you for teaching me exactly what I don't want in a man. Your betrayal led me to someone who actually loves me. So in a way, you gave me the greatest gift of my life. I hope someday you find someone who's as perfect for you as you were for each other. You and your lies deserve each other." Then I blocked him forever. At our engagement party, which I planned and James paid for because that's what partners do, Emma gave a speech that made everyone cry. A year ago, I watched Ashley turn the worst night of her life into the most empowering moment I've ever witnessed. She taught me that when someone tries to break you, you can choose to become unbreakable instead. The crowd applauded, and I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. Not because I got revenge on David, but because David's betrayal forced me to become the woman I was always meant to be. Strong, strategic, unbreakable, and absolutely unwilling to accept less than I deserve. James pulled me onto the dance floor for our first dance as an engaged couple. "Any regrets?" he whispered. "About what?" "About destroying David so completely. Some people might say you went too far." I looked around at the party full of people who loved and supported me. I looked at my ring, bought with James's money, given with James's love, chosen specifically for my taste. I looked at my fiancé, a man who would never dream of cheating on me, lying to me or humiliating me. "James," I said, "the only regret I have is that I didn't destroy him sooner." We danced until midnight, surrounded by real love, real friendship, and real happiness. And somewhere across town, David was probably scrolling through the photos of my engagement party, realizing exactly what he'd lost. The best revenge isn't just destroying your enemy. The best revenge is building a life so amazing that your enemy's betrayal becomes the best thing that ever happened to you. David thought he was ending my story when he humiliated me at that party. Instead, he was just ending the prologue. The real story, my real story, began the moment I decided to fight back. And it's been a beautiful story ever since. If you're watching this and you're in a relationship with someone who makes you question your worth, who lies to you, who cheats on you, who tries to humiliate you, remember my story. Remember that you always have a choice. You can be the victim of their betrayal, or you can be the architect of their destruction. You can let them break you, or you can show them what real power looks like. David thought I was weak. He thought I was naive. He thought I was too trusting and too stupid to see what he was doing. He was wrong. And if someone in your life is underestimating you the way David underestimated me, show them how wrong they are. Be smart. Be strategic. Be strong. And when they try to destroy you, destroy them first. But do it with class, do it with style, and do it so completely that they never even think about trying to hurt another person the way they hurt you. That's not just revenge. That's justice. And justice is beautiful.